Once a user has authenticated within our application, there are a number of concerns that may change depending upon the authenticated user. We may want to make changes to our user interface since we know who the user is and we know that they're authenticated. So here I'm going to sign in as a user. We may want to change something like our sign-in link. It's no longer needed. We want to have a greeting for the user at this point and also provide them an option to log out. However, we would not want to display that sort of content to a user who is not authenticated. We're going to take a look at how we can use some of the features of Spring Security Tag Library to conditionally render content to our users based upon their authentication status. We will add a bean into our security context.xml file. Now, this bean will allow us to use expressions within the tags in our view, and we have to specify the bean's class. And then it is a default web security expression handler. We can then use IntelliSense to autocomplete the path. We'll switch over to our header. Here is where we would like to make our modifications. We need to conditionally display our sign-in link depending upon the authentication status of the user. To do this, we need to add the Spring Security Tag Library. So once again, just hitting Control Space, accessing the IntelliSense, and then providing a prefix. And we'll go with SEC once again. We're also going to add the JSTL tag library to help us with our conditional display. For JSTL, you want to make sure you have the one that is java.sun.com/JSP/JSTL/core. So the one we're on right here. And we'll add that to our JSP file, and we'll go with the traditional prefix of C. We'll add a new line above our sign-in link. Now we're going to use one of our Spring Security tags, and that is the authorized tag. This tag would be used to wrap content. So we would put something like this in the body of the tag, and then we use an access attribute. Within here, we can enter some for role or some for expression. In our case, we want to use the authenticated expression. And this is just a simple way to use expression language to say, make sure this individual is authenticated within the application. But instead of just having this link be conditionally displayed within the body of our authorized tag, we're going to assign the value of this tag. So it's going to be a conditional, a Boolean, true or false, whether or not they are authenticated, to a variable. And we'll just call that variable authenticated. Now that we have that variable with the authorized tag, we can then begin to use JSTL to put a conditional in place. We'll use the choose conditional, and within the choose, we'll put a when, and then we'll put an otherwise. And our test condition here will be a check against that authenticated variable that we created. If they are authenticated, we're going to be displaying our user's name and also a logout link. So we're going to create a paragraph, and the paragraph is going to have a class navbar text. This is just some Bootstrap markup, so it's not part of Spring Security. And within that paragraph, say welcome, and then we are going to display the user's name, which will be their username, and then we're going to provide a link for them to log out. And now I'm simply going to wrap all of this within its own list item, and we'll indent those a little to make sure it's all lined up. So we will display a welcome message to our user that contains their name, and then we will also have a logout link that follows their name, which eventually will allow them to log out. And we need to move this line item so it will be displayed only when a user is authenticated. And now we simply move our login link into the otherwise block. So at this point, our user interface will react conditionally depending upon whether the user is authenticated. So let's restart our server, open up a new browser to log out. We'll hit the application. I will click on the sign in link. And now let's log in as the admin. There we see up top, welcome admin. We no longer see our sign in link and we actually see the logout link. So we were able to achieve that by using some of the tags that are present within the Spring Security tag library. They allow us to access information about the authentication and make some conditional choices on our user interface.